Hi golfers and welcome, I'm Coach Carolin, and today we're going to talk about the chain reaction of early extension, where it starts, how we fix it, and how we keep it away for good. All right, the dreaded early extension move. That's something I hear so much about, and a lot of the time people treat it as a root cause issue. The other day, I had a very sweet gentleman, great golfer, actually come to me and he goes, I'm just an early extender. I know I'm an early extender. I've been working on it for years and I just can't keep my hip back. I know what I'm supposed to do and now I'm supposed to keep my hip back here and then keep my hip back here and just not come forward, but I just can't seem to be able to do it. And that was really interesting to me because it showed me that this gentleman thought that this was actually a core problem, a root cause problem for him, but it was only a symptom of what he was doing before. So there was no way actually he wasn't going to do it in his impact position in his downswing. So I felt really bad and wanted to make sure that he understood that there's something else that comes before this that causes it and that he's not an early extender, like boom, labeled early extender. You're not. You're just putting yourself in a position where you have to early extend from. So where did it all start? It all starts at the start of the swing. Go figure. But more precisely so even in the setup. So it starts at the setup, then at the start of the swing, and that all triggered this deadly chain reaction of early extension. So really it had nothing to do with his downswing, only with how he set himself up to get to the top position. And the early extension usually is a complete compensation from where you are in the top position, how you got there, and then it just has to happen because your body wants to help you get to the ball. So let's walk through this and I'll show you kind of what this gentleman was struggling with and where it all comes from. So this gentleman had his weight in his setup. That's the first thing we looked at. He had his weight a little bit on the heels. So he was a little close to the ball and his weight was a little bit in his heels right here. So you could see his butt is a little bit, further over his heels and you just overall see that he was sitting back a little bit. So what happens with that? If you try this, and I encourage you wherever you are, stand up and try this right now. Put your weight intentionally on your heels. Feel like your toes are a little bit off the ground, just for exaggeration and demonstration purposes. And now take the club back. Feel where that pulls you. Where does it pull you? If you just were to swing the club, you'll feel that the club gets sucked inside a lot more than you trying to lift it out. It's just by natural swing motion, it's going to get sucked inside. So this is exactly what happened with this gentleman. He got sucked inside and his hands traveled out. So you see how my hands are traveling out while my club head's traveling in. And you won't ever catch a tour player in this position, ever, anywhere near this position, in fact. So he was right here. And then there was a little bit of lifting, but he really was still pretty deep. And deep is the distance from here to right here where the ball would be. So he was still pretty deep and laid off. What happens when you're too laid off at the top, your body knows this, right? Your body knows it's got to get to the target. And now it's like, I need to get it forward first. I need to get it in front of my body so I can drop my hands. What happens when this happens is that your club steepens. So now, and this is just a foot of a motion, very slight, and it's not super obvious sometimes, but watch it on your video. If you're an early extender, watch this. I guarantee you, you are a little too flat at the top position, and then your body's trying to compensate by steepening your shaft. Now, the only way for me to get shallow here, because I only have a couple of split seconds to get down to the ball, what happens? For me to get this club shallower, what happens if I push my hips forward, if I early extend? My shaft and club looks like it's more on plane now, right? It flattens out. This is steep. By me simply doing this, flattens out. So the early extension as you're coming down right here is a desperate attempt of your body to get your club shallower so you can hit the ball better. But then usually you have this early extension, your weight goes forward on your toes and you flip. And you have these blocks, hooks, just inconsistent contacts, double crosses. But as you saw, it all starts at the setup. So now what we fixed with said gentleman, and this was such a breakthrough and I love this. He was so ecstatic and I was so ecstatic. And it really was so much simpler. It wasn't the early extension, wasn't the problem. It was just a symptom of the problem. So we took him and we actually put his weight from his heels a lot more into the balls of our feet, right here. Now, number one, and this already kind of gets you to be a little bit more bent over. So less knee bend, because when you're sitting back, you can see how there's more knee bend usually. So as we're getting our weight kind of over the balls of our feet, we're bending more at the hip, less knee bend, and we already look so much more athletic. I mean, come on. Now, if you do this, and again, I encourage you to do this, now swing the club, feel Feel the difference now. It's not going to get sucked in as much at all. Now you can actually take it away really well, and you can keep those hands closer to your body. You can keep that club head outside versus the opposite that was the issue before. So just by simply doing these two things, getting your weight a little bit more in the balls of your feet, and you can do this by just, if you want to feel it, that feeling in the setup, stand up straight, and then just start bending over from the hip. Don't actually push your butt back. Stand up straight, bend over at the hip. Feel like that weight goes over the balls of your feet. Now you can actually swing your club away in a much better takeaway position. So now your hip and your arms and your hands are working much more athletically. And now you're going to be steeper. Your hands are going to be more in front of you as you go up. And then they're going to be higher. And now you're not so laid off, because all of a sudden you can turn that left shoulder under. See how when I have this weight more forward, I can turn that left shoulder under right here versus doing the left shoulder up, left shoulder under. You can swing up. You're much higher at the top. You can be now. And now, guess what? Your club's actually not laid off. Now your body, as you're transitioning, now the weight shift can just naturally help you drop that club into the slot without early extension. You can come in and you can cover the ball and you can hit the ball super, super well. So it really is the setup and the takeaway that put the shaft, allow the club head and the shaft to travel at a steeper, and I'm not suggesting a steep backswing, I'm just saying a steeper or neutral backswing in this case, because we were flat before. And then allowing the club to shallow. It's a chain reaction. We went from shallow to steep to shallow with the early extension. That was the chain reaction. It goes shallow, steep, shallow. Versus now, we've made it super simple. Just by some setup and weight changes, some static changes. We're taking the club away. We're putting the weight more in the front. We can have the takeaway better. Now we can turn the left shoulder under. And now we can actually go in. Club will shallow naturally and we can power through. No more early extension. And we didn't touch one thing in the downswing. Not one thing. The downswing just happens. Guys, the downswing is the reaction part of golf. That's not the action part. You're not supposed to be thinking and finagling, oh, now my downswing has to be this way. Your downswing just happens. Should just happen. Well, it actually just happens for everybody. It's just a matter of how does it just happen? Does it just happen correctly or does it just happen incorrectly from where you've put yourself before? So if you struggle with early extension, you're not an early extender, not putting you in that box, shutting it and never opening it again. We're just going to fix your setup and we're going to fix your takeaway. And that's going to help you with your early extension. Guys, golf is hard, but it's really not this hard. And a lot of the time, I think students think they're much worse than they are, and they think it's a lot harder than it is. And it is hard. I get it. Golf's very hard. But it's all very logical, and it's all just kind of chain reactions. If we can figure out the root cause, you can improve a lot from where you are today. So I really hope this makes sense, and this gives you encouragement and hope, and a sense of you guys can do this. It's not as bad as it feels. Most of the time, you guys are actually closer to a really good shot than you think. So thank you so much for watching. Thanks for being here, and please leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think about this video. Also, always feel free to actually reach out and put a comment below what you want to see next. I'm here for you. This is what I do. This is what I love. See you next time.